Welcome back for episode 214 of the Working Fans Podcast, and it has been a busy week in wrestling news. Dave, have you been paying attention to the whole news around the TKO? I don't know, what is it? The merger, them going public?
So it's a merger. That's what it is. You know, they went public. They're a publicly traded company. It's WWE and UFC. UFC, which was owned by Endeavor, now partnered up with WWE and Vince, and now Vince, which I think is a major story too, is no longer the majority shareholder, which is incredible when you think about it. For like our lives as lifelong wrestling fans, we've only known one owner, other than the brief retirement.
Isn't it funny that we talked more about a post-Vince WWE when we thought he retired, yet with this current situation, the decision-making is out of his hands finally, and it's kind of the situation we thought we were getting back then.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is funny. It is strange. The creative from WWE has been a lot better since Vince retired initially. And even when Vince kind of got himself back in, we haven't been subjected to the creative we had before. There was glimpses here and there, but for the most part, everything was running pretty hot. And you know what I find interesting too is the timing of all this. And a lot of it does appear to be coincidental, is that the WWE had this hot storyline with the bloodline, right? And now Roman had to step away for a bit. And even people were talking a little bit that match he had at SummerSlam with Jay, with Jimmy came up, like, wasn't quite hitting. Is it time to maybe finally do something else with the bloodline, Well, now the TKO merger's happened. Everybody's talking about this, and it just gets WWE hot again. Just to get into this merger a little bit, and some of the ideas I've heard, and just a thought that I have, that I've talked about in the past.
Real quick, before we get into this, next week, you and AJ, since AJ's not able to be here this week, you guys are going to talk about the top 3-4 things you want to see from the whole TKO merger. And today we're just kind of, reporting on what it is right now. And I'll give my 2 cents about it as well.
So what it is right now, it's just going to be these two companies coming together and help promote for one another. We'll talk about this next week a little bit more in detail. But one of the things I heard that I thought fascinating is that there's possibly looking at bundling big weekends together, meaning you have a Friday Night Live SmackDown. You could be like, say they're going to be in Australia or something like that. Then you have a big UFC pay-per-view on Saturday, and then a WWE premium live event on Sunday. And when I hear stuff like that, I just think, wow, what a massive amount of money that's going to be involved, to put that on, but then all the money they'll probably make. It's just incredible. And I'm sure we're going to see.
Well, the flip side of it is, think about the money they're saving, because they can rent the building for the weekend, get 3 events out of it, over 2 companies. You get those 2 different or 3 different houses, and it just makes everything so much bigger. So it is smart in that way. I'm assuming you could probably do fan fests. We'll have to see where this is going. This is something we haven't seen ever. And this is going to be both companies, I think, operating at a bigger level.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you a funny quote that I love too, was one of the more silly things I've heard. Most of this has been pretty good so far, but one of the more silly things was this guy Lawrence. I can't remember his last name at the moment, but he's part of the team TKO, and he made a comment that our ultimate goal is to make all WWE fans UFC fans and all UFC fans WWE fans. And when they asked Dana White about this, he did kind of what you did, was very slow. He was almost smirking a little bit if he had to cover his face. And then Dana's like, yeah, he's like, Lawrence, I love you, but that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And that made me like, okay, this man knows. Like, that's not what's going to happen here. That shouldn't even be what you should be happy, because now you can get these different fan bases. Yeah, you'll get some crossover, but, it's
yes. So essentially they want to create TKO fans, and that way, it's hard to get 100% of anything, 100% of people to agree with you. If anything, you've got your toes in 2 of the biggest markets possible. And it's like, why would you not have those? Why would you want to make one big soup out of it and mix them together? I think you're lucky to be able to have one company controlling these 2 entities.
Yeah, and nice to see that somebody like Dana is not afraid just to come out and say, like, no, that's not going to happen. we're going to do what we will well, and this will be big from a business standpoint. But I would
What
say,
did you think about the look of the belt that they had at that stock opening?
I don't recall it. I'd have to go back and take a look.
I was gonna try and get a picture of it up. It didn't look great, and I'm not big on like these colors of this logo. This looks very WWE-ish.
Uh-huh.
It's not awful, but it doesn't stand out necessarily.